Welcome to Dreamland Chronicles. I'm your host, Noah. Thank you for choosing to join us. Before we begin, find a comfortable position, set aside all your tasks, and let's enter a state of tranquility together. Firstly, let's take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly, then exhale gently. Repeat a few times, allowing your breath to become deeper and more rhythmic. Now, use your senses to feel every part of your body. From head to toe, notice any tension or discomfort. Just acknowledge their presence without striving to change them. As you continue to breathe deeply, let's alleviate the tension in your body by gradually relaxing your muscles. Starting from the head, moving downward, gently release each muscle. Feel that comfortable, light sensation, as if an invisible, comforting hand is gently embracing you. Shift your attention to your thoughts. Don't strive to eliminate them. Just let them quietly float by, like clouds drifting in the sky. You are merely an observer, unaffected by these thoughts. Let's take another deep breath, absorbing tranquility and peaceful energy. In this moment, you are safe, serene, and anything can wait until tomorrow. Thank you for participating in tonight's scientific relaxation moment. May you have a peaceful night and sweet dreams. Now, as you drift towards sleep, I'll hand the microphone over to Nicole to tell us a story.
In one's lifetime, there's a gradual transition from fragility to anti-fragility. Truly strong individuals are masters of anti-fragility. Life is always full of ups and downs in the adult world. Everyone is running while holding an umbrella. Strong individuals often face storms fearlessly, while fragile ones tend to retreat and collapse at the sight of difficulties. Are you fragile? Do you have fragile people around you? To understand what anti-fragility is, let's first look at what fragility means. Fragility refers to the susceptibility of a system, an individual, or a thing to damage or destruction when faced with stress, chaos, risks, or uncertainty. Fragile entities are often sensitive to uncertainty and tend to prefer stable and orderly environments. Everyone experiences moments of fragility, feeling unloved, worrying excessively about the future, being afraid to try new things, etc. Take Linda Yu, for example. Not only is she physically weak, but she's also emotionally sensitive, often experiencing mood swings over trivial matters. This fully illustrates her fragility. She's prone to illness and emotional wounds. Despite the improving living conditions nowadays, people's inner selves seem to be becoming more fragile. Compared to the past, there are several reasons why people's inner selves are becoming more fragile. Increased pressure, despite the growing economy and improving living standards. People are facing increasing pressure. For example, job pressure. The number of university graduates increases every year, but job opportunities are limited, leaving many graduates unemployed. Material pressures are also mounting as the economy develops. Prices, especially housing prices, are rising while wages struggle to keep up. Marriage pressures, too, are significant, with the costs of housing, cars, dowries, and raising children causing stress for both men and women. Apart from the pressures mentioned above, there are many more, and these accumulated pressures can have a significant impact on an individual's psyche. Lack of family education care. In today's family model, parents often work outside the home while the children are cared for by the elderly. This arrangement significantly reduces the quality time children spend with their parents, leading to feelings of loneliness and emptiness. Children growing up in such environments may lack necessary feelings of security deep inside. After all, parental companionship and care provide the best emotional nourishment for children. Conversely, overprotective parents may make their children psychologically fragile by shielding them from any setbacks. For instance, when a child falls, parents always rush to help. Such children, when grown, tend to seek refuge from their parents at the first sign of difficulty, instead of learning to face challenges on their own. Narrow social circles. People are inherently social and must interact with others to gather life information. However, for many, traditional social interactions are gradually being replaced by online interactions. Despite the desire to maintain social activities, people seem to have become prisoners of screens. This leads to a decrease in direct communication between individuals, with people often being absorbed in their smartphone screens, even in face-to-face situations. Psychological studies reveal that the living environment has a significant influence on one's personality and psychological development. People living in urban apartments tend to be more introverted and less adept at socializing, while those in environments with yards tend to be more outgoing and better at socializing. Avoiding misconceptions about fragile psychology positively contributes to building our anti-fragility. Here are several misconceptions about fragile psychology. Fragility is a sign of weakness. Many people think that fragility is a manifestation of weakness and fail to realize that the emotions and experiences they long for actually stem from fragile inner feelings. When you are in a fragile state, you are completely exposed to others, facing immense emotional risks, bearing risks, bravely confronting fragility, opening up, and expressing emotions are not signs of weakness. I'm not fragile. This statement is often accompanied by explanations based on gender or profession. For example, I'm a man, I'm not fragile. I'm a psychologist, I'm not fragile. Unfortunately, people have not read themselves of fragile psychology because life is filled with fragility. When we face fragility, we tend to experience discomfort. In intimate relationships, there are mainly two moments when we feel fragile. One is the exposure of facts, such as telling our partner secrets related to ourselves, and the other is emotional disclosure, such as sharing our feelings or seeking help when feeling weak or emotionally unstable. These situations can make you feel afraid and vulnerable, leading to a series of consequences, such as fearing losing the love of the other person, which is the main reason we often say, I'm not fragile. Is fragility about bearing everything? Fragility is not about oversharing and revealing everything. It's not about bearing everything. Opening up or being vulnerable is based on mutual trust. Before we share our vulnerabilities and take risks to share them, we make sure all confidentiality measures are in place. We don't open up to someone we just met and start by saying, "Hey, I'm XYZ. Here are my darkest struggles." This is not fragility. It might be despair, trauma, or seeking attention. We reserve sharing our vulnerabilities with those with whom we've established trust. And sharing with them the contents of our stories enhances our relationships and trust. Anti-fragility is the opposite of fragility. Anti-fragility refers to the property of a system, an individual, or a thing to benefit and thrive when faced with stress, chaos, risks, and uncertainty. In other words, they not only survive adversity, but also become stronger because of it. Having anti-fragile capabilities strengthens your inner self, enabling you to tackle various difficulties and setbacks encountered in life and work. For this reason, NASA Nicholas Tell proposed a new concept, anti-fragility. Anti-fragility is a concept that goes beyond resilience and toughness. Resilience is the ability of something to withstand shocks and to recover after being severely affected, while anti-fragility goes further, allowing things to grow against the odds. As Nietzsche famously said, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." For example, lions in zoos live comfortably without worrying about hunger. But if a major incident occurs in the zoo, the lions may face survival issues. On the other hand, lions in the wild, although they only have a 20% success rate in hunting and often go hungry, never worry about survival. They are actually stronger than zoo lions. We say lions in the wild have anti-fragility. Information also exhibits anti-fragility. When someone tries to suppress or eliminate certain information, this behavior may instead make the information stronger and more influential. A typical example is that the more someone tries to defend themselves, the more they may incriminate themselves. When you hear a company or a heavily indebted government say they want to restore confidence, they are undoubtedly fragile and destined to fail. The more press conferences they hold to reassure investors, the more likely they are to scare them away. In daily life, telling someone a secret and emphasizing not to tell anyone else can result in the secret spreading faster. Anti-fragility is not a one-size-fits-all concept. It has rich connotations and profound layers. The manifestations of anti-fragility vary depending on the relationship between systems and individuals within a system. In many cases, individual sacrifices may enhance the anti-fragility of the system. Take an industry as an example. The operation of restaurants is often fragile as they compete with each other. However, this cluster of restaurants exhibits anti-fragility because customers' tastes are constantly changing. If one restaurant closes due to not meeting the public's tastes, other restaurants will realize the problem and improve their dishes, making the entire food industry more aligned with customer needs and flourishing. Due to the Titanic disaster, engineering historian Henry Petrowski proposed that if the Titanic disaster hadn't occurred, people would likely continue building increasingly large ocean liners, and the next disaster would be even more tragic. In fact, passengers on the ship made sacrifices for greater benefits, and the number of lives they saved exceeded the number lost. In summary, anti-fragility describes a characteristic a system, a state. When faced with uncertainty, not only is there no negative impact, but there is also significant benefit. Nassim Nicholas Dell proposed for methods to enhance anti-fragility, overcompensing or overreacting. Examples of overcompensation are abundant in daily life. For instance, the principle of vaccination is to allow the body to experience a small infection with the virus, thereby enhancing immunity to resist severe disease threats. When rushing to complete a task, it's best to assign it to the busiest employee rather than the least busy one. The best learning environment isn't necessarily the quietest. Appropriate noise can actually help focus attention. Capturing the audience's attention doesn't always require a loud voice. Sometimes lowering the volume can make everyone perk up. In dealing with uncertainty and crises in this world, overcompensation is one way to avoid risks and enhance one's abilities. However, excess can lead to fragility. Reasonable intervention is the path to enhancing anti-fragility, with the key lying in the method and intensity of intervention. However, people often engage in excessive intervention, leading to itogratenic damage. Itogratenic damage arises from the words, actions, and unintended consequences of medical and preventive personnel, as well as the side effects of medical procedures, resulting in physiological or psychological harm to patients. A classic example of itogratenic damage is the death of President George Washington in December 1799. There is ample evidence to suggest that his doctors used standard treatments of the time, including bloodletting, which hastened his death. Later, the concept of itogratenic damage was extended to political science, economics, urban planning, education, and more. For example, at the family level, many parents interfere too much in their children's academic lives, hindering the cultivation of their children's anti-fragility. Tell advocates for intervention, but without blindly getting involved personally. Barbell strategy. The barbell strategy is a very effective method for enhancing anti-fragility. Simply put, it involves preparing for multiple scenarios and allocating one's time, energy, and resources reasonably to avoid an all-or-nothing situation. The barbell strategy isn't about predicting the future because the future is unpredictable and uncertain. The ancient Greek philosopher Thales observed with his astronomical knowledge that olives would have a great harvest next summer. He then used his money to lease all the olive presses in Miletus. Since no one was competing with him at the time, the rental prices were low. When the harvest season came, he rented out the machines at a high price, making a large profit. Thales' secret was the barbell strategy. He prepared for both the possibility of a bountiful olive harvest and the possibility of a poor one. Of course, to utilize this strategy effectively, one needs the ability to think globally and not act blindly with excessive confidence. Asymmetry, recognizing that the world is full of uncertainty, and this uncertainty cannot be completely eliminated. Accepting uncertainty is the first step in enhancing anti-fragility, because only when we are no longer afraid of the unknown can we better adapt to and cope with it. There is a story about a king who flew into a rage at his son and declared that he would crush him with a large stone. After calming down, he realized he was too impulsive and shouldn't have said such things. But retracting the statement would damage his authority. So, the king's smart advisors came up with a solution. They smashed the large stone into 1,000 small stones and then used these stones to pelt the king's unruly son. The difference between 0 small stones and an equally heavy large stone is huge. For fragile things, the harm from an impact grows more rapidly as the intensity of the impact increases. For instance, represented on a coordinate axis, the line is not a straight line but a curve, which is the manifestation of asymmetry. Conversely, for anti-fragile things within a certain limit, the greater the impact, the greater the benefits. Once we recognize this asymmetry, we have more options and more room to develop anti-fragility. At any age, a person's inner fragility always exists, only manifesting differently in degree and manner. Severe psychological fragility can lead to emotional repression, lack of communication between people, suspicion of others' sincerity, dissatisfaction with work, and disharmonious interpersonal relationships. Therefore, properly dealing with deep-seated fragility, transforming oneself towards bravery, and enhancing anti-fragility is important for everyone. A bicycle can only maintain balance when it's in motion. After all, people who have not been tested are unlikely to become strong. Flowers in a greenhouse are unlikely to grow big. For instance, bean sprouts can't become verdant without being bathed in sunlight. Without experiencing storms, there won't be any rainbows.
Now, as we conclude our time together, may the serenity of this moment linger with you through the night. Remember, you hold the power to create your own dreams, filled with wonder and possibility. Rest deeply, knowing that tomorrow holds endless opportunities for growth and joy. Until we meet again, sleep well and embrace the beauty of your own imagination. Good night and sweet dreams.